Okay, conference is being recorded. This is Cassandra Campbell. We're near San Antonio, Texas. Today is May the 16th, 2012. And this is a lecture with Dr. Dan Matthews. And so I was about to say, we have people from Alabama, Minnesota, Ohio, Indianapolis, New Mexico, Arizona, California, Kansas, Missouri, and somebody, Connecticut, New Zealand, Australia, what are those other countries I mentioned? Ireland, and maybe, yeah. So, that call in. Isn't that awesome? Okay, well, how do we start this today? This is Dr. Dan Matthews, in case y'all haven't met him. And he's been coming to this place in San Antonio for 9 years now. He's looking up at the ceiling going, really? I had a lady that was coming to my classes in the early 2000s something. About every 6 months she'd bring me a brochure. Here's Dr. Dan's brochure. And I'd look at it and I'd go, well, that's interesting, and I'd put it down and I'd forget about it. And she'd bring it again and again and again. So for a couple of years she did that. And finally one day she said, she brought me one. We were here in San Antonio, and she said, and he's going to be in Austin Friday, January something to do a free lecture. This light went on in my head, and I went, I got to go. It's time for me to go. So I gathered up one of my friends, and we went. And anyway, the upshot of it was a wonderful thing. And in that whole interaction, which was quite phenomenal for me, I was talking to Dr. Dan, and in the conversation, because I was really high on the energy, you know, and he would say, I can come to San Antonio, and I'd just like go over my head, and I'd keep talking, and he said, and I could come to San Antonio, and we keep talking and go over my, finally the third time he said it, I looked at my friend and went, oh God, he can come to San Antonio, let's do that. So that was in January, and he came to San Antonio in March, and his schedule has been full pretty much every single time he has come since then. He comes to Texas every other month. The odd months, January, March, May, July, September, November.
54 times in 9 years.
And he has been here 54 times in 9 years. So he starts here in Bulverde. He's here for 2.5 days. He goes to Austin for 3 days. He goes to Houston for 6 days. And he hits Shepherd, Texas on his way home back to Little Rock, Arkansas. He goes to New Mexico in February and October, and he goes to Indianapolis in April and August. He's on vacation in June and December. Anytime his schedules are full here, always in Austin too, and there are 5 or 6 hostesses in Texas for Dan, Dr. Dan. If you want a private appointment with him and you can't get in when he's actually somewhere in person, he can do them remotely by phone, and it works just as well. Some people even like it better because his wonderful wife, Vicki, is a surrogate, and so she brings this wonderful, original earth goddess feminine energy to the whole process. And if you are not able to grab one of his cards here tonight and you don't have one, and you're on the phone or something you don't know, you can go to the blog and all of his information is on there. He's easy to find these days. So, in 9 years, what I've learned about this man is that he is very, very genuine. He's very real. He's very authentic. He has very little ego, very little. He has a tremendous Arkansas sense of humor because he's an Arkansas boy. Yeah, the first time he went left Arkansas, it was an accident. He was on the highway and took the wrong exit. So, he's very generous, and he is absolutely, totally devoted to the ascension of the planet. That's his job now. So he will tell you a story or a little bit about it, and tell us a little bit about, or a lot, about what's going on right now. We're in an amazing time. You know, for me, it is finally, how many lifetimes have we spent to get here? You know, and we're here. Whatever that means. And so, I'm going to let Dan talk. I don't think there's anything else I need to say right now. So I'm going to put this microphone on Dan so everybody on the phone can hear. So y'all just hang on the phone for just a second. All right, Dan. Is that good?
That's good.
All right, you're on.
All wired up.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for coming out this evening and honoring me with your presence at our little talk. I love it if you ask questions. It keeps me focused and keeps us kind of connected, going together a lot better. So anytime you got a question, just raise your hand, and we'll discuss it. But you know, as Cassandra said, you know, I'm a natural-born Arkansan. Lived there all my life, except when I went to chiropractic school for about 5 years in Kansas City. And got a wonderful family. I've got 2 sons that are young men now, 28 and 24, and they're very much involved in this process also. When they were children, I used to discipline them with equations. You know, get to your room, I'm going to do an equation on you. And but the weird thing was it was always Pops that needed the equation. Because, you know, they punched my buttons of my subconscious programming of when I was being raised. And, you know, it's just way different nowadays. But Ben and Nathan are just 2 really wonderful young men, and they're very much involved with this, as is my wife, now that we found out a few facts about her. You know, when this all happened to me, I had a heat stroke at my mother-in-law's bay house in Orange Beach, Alabama in '92, and went down the rabbit hole, had a telepathic experience with crystal light beings, and I got zapped with light, and I came back to the earth, and right before I came on the earth, the holiness of life told me that all of us had been put on this planet to learn to trust in our inner holiness, and that's the purpose of life here. And whether you're doing that or not, doesn't really matter what you say, it's what you feel. And if you're doing anxiety, worry, fear, depression, anger, critical, cynical, doubtful, you're demonstrating that you're not trusting your inner holiness, you're trying to figure it out through self. And self is the fragmented soul that's controlled through the belief of the 10% conscious ego, and it is the least conscious part of you that has no knowing, and it's a poor choice to turn the project of figuring something out over to. Doesn't work very well. And to top it off, the ego is a part of us that defends, and its tool is fear. And it's why people get riled up, and it's what brought war to the planet, and makes people judgmental and self-righteous, and brings out a lot of character flaws, really. But there's another way to handle life, and you see, if your heart beats, there is a holiness of life within you that knows all of life and is 100% conscious. And there's an ancient wisdom known as Christ consciousness. It's a technique to put yourself in the posture for your inner holiness to come forth and show and tell and lead you, instead of you telling it what it's allowed to be by belief processes and these sorts of things that people have as their basic hang-up, you know, why they don't do that. But it's an amazing process to be a Christed being, and it's got 6 easy passive steps that's really child's play. They are acceptance, forgiveness, surrender, yield, trust, and ask for guidance. And if a person is willing to do that, the 100% conscious, all-knowing inner holiness will come forth and show, tell, and lead you. And if you're willing to accept it without question, it sets a process into action. You see, the more you trust in your inner holiness, the more it trusts in you, and the more is unfolded. And so it's an amazing, amazing process of life. And this gift of healing that I was blessed with is strictly about the demonstration of being a Christed being. I just show up every day, take my step in trust. I never have a clue what's around the corner. And when you can do that, you get the full measure of your inner holiness. Your cup always overflows. It leads you through all the torturous paths of life. And it puts a wow factor in your life that you get no other way. Goodness will come out of the woodwork as long as you're willing to accept goodness in any form your holiness wants to provide it. And so it's an amazing journey. And the good news is that every single one of us can do this. And it's a bazillion times easier than trying to figure it out through self in 10% consciousness. So we've demonstrated that doesn't work too good. So I'm back in my chiropractic office 2 days after my vacation, and my client Cheryl, who's still my client today, she was on the table, and I never was much about instrumentation, x-rays, and all that kind of stuff. I always liked the living connection with people, and so I use muscle testing, and the process I use is leg length evaluation. It's an old chiropractic way of getting information to determine what you're going to do for that patient today. You might take x-rays or whatever to show them what's wrong with it, but as far as what you're going to do to them in this treatment, you never really go by that kind of stuff. It's really always about the kinesiology muscle testing that they present with. And so I discovered that through the same process that I would receive information of which vertebrae needed adjusting, whatever, that I could actually connect with the inner holiness of the patient. And it is always eager to speak to your needs. And so this set me off on a journey that I'm still journeying. You know, it's never ended, and pretty much all this really interesting stuff started happening. I started having reoccurring dreams where I would wake up knowing things, and I was actually going back or going to places that I had done this stuff before and bringing information to the earth. And it was really quite an awesome reoccurring dream. So I got started on this. You know, I found my yellow brick road, and it's really just about taking one step at a time and allowing holiness to show, tell, and lead you. And so that's what I did, and 20 years of doing that, this is where I'm at. It took me probably about 6 months to pretty much kill a pretty good chiropractic practice, because I was totally obsessed to do this. I mean, I could not do. There's no way I couldn't do this. And thank the Lord that people got well. Or I'm sure they would have locked me up for being a nut. But it's very interesting stuff. When I got started with this, I had Cheryl on the table, and I would get these bright ideas that always led to me being humbled, usually. And so I got this bright idea to ask, how many causes did Cheryl have in her total being? And it said 8,427. And then I asked, how many of these causes did I have the ability to comprehend the existence of? And it said 13. So I knew I wasn't going to get very far with me running the show, you know, pretty quick. And so had a little experience happen, and I got Cheryl back in the office in a couple of weeks, and I asked if the divine presence of her inner holiness orchestrates the process, how many things have to be removed to get rid of all 4,827 causes, and it said 2. And I erased the fear of death from the dawn of time, and it went down to 122. And then I removed the death of Christ consciousness, and bam, it zeroed out. And so I knew I had found something really big, because the concept that I had at the time was of cause and effect. Either something is causing this to be here or keeping it from healing. And that lasted, I think, another 2 days, and I found out there were actually 15 different reasons people have problems. It wasn't just cause and effect. There was a lot more to it. And so this sent me on this journey of holy divine healing. That's what the holiness of life told me to call it. And so that's what it's been. And what this is about, it's the, you see, when you was conceived in this life, at your very conception, 3 things happen simultaneously. You're one cell, that one cell is pulsating, and there's a full-grown, complete adult-sized energy field around the one cell that the one cell grows into as you become an adult. The pulse is your divine presence, the cell is your soul, and this energy field is your Holy Spirit. And that's what you really are. Your consciousness is locked onto your Holy Spirit. And every single person on the planet's Holy Spirit was created at the dawn of creation in the model of the Holy O. And the model of the Holy O means that we were whole beings, unfragmented. And the model of the Holy O creates the intuition of O, intuition being your precursor of thought and feeling, and the intuition of O creates the feelings of love, all the positive feelings and the thoughts that go with loving feelings, and allows us to share this common O with one another so that we can feel how we make each other feel, can think each other's thoughts. And what a rudder check that is. That keeps people in integrity, honor, and high regard of one another because we're not separate. We're actually the same. And when we're wholly same, we get to perceive and manifest reality from the knowing of our 100% conscious inner holiness. And this gives us 100% life expression. This is the being we were created to be. By getting caught in a dragnet and going through a downfall, we became human beings that function from the belief of the 10% conscious ego. Our intuition was changed from O to 1. And the intuition of 1 creates the feelings of fear, all the negative feelings and thoughts that go with those feelings. It causes a person to separate initially on their inside and then secondarily from each other. And when that happens, people perceive and manifest reality from the belief of their 10% conscious ego, losing 90% of their life expression and perceiving life incorrectly and therefore making lousy choices and decisions. So this is what we became as a result of a downfall. But the thing that I want you to remember about this is that we were not created to be human beings. We were created to be holy beings, and this is our divine origin. The information that I'm telling you this from is not in any book, and yet every person on this planet carries a complete, total record of what I'm telling you. And it comes from the inscriptions in the crystal lattice of your Holy Spirit, and it cannot be altered by the victors of the war. It tells the truth. And so holy divine healing is a process of Christ consciousness, and its information comes from the crystal lattice of your Holy Spirit. And so that's what this is about. And you know, a lot of really wonderful people have been working on the Holy Path. You know, I get there's 177 million people on this planet that are light workers, and they do their sacred path. They're all snowflakes. They're not any of them alike. Even if you were trained to do a technique, you'll do it a little bit differently than you was trained. It's just kind of the way we are, because we're snowflakes. You know, we're all beautiful and unique. And there's a place for everybody in this ascension process, which is a plan of grand design that has been well underway for a long time on this planet. I came on the scene in '92 with this stuff, and worked real hard with a lot of other people. It took a mighty effort by a lot of people to get this 10,000-pound boulder to roll, and now it's rolling really fast. And so I worked on this till 2004, all in the third paradigm. You know, when we came through the downfall, we went from the very top of the paradigm ladder, the 999 to the power 7th paradigm, which just came in May the 6th, so 2 Sundays back. And but that's where we actually started from, when we were holy beings, and we got crashed all the way down to the bottom to the first paradigm. It's like we got unzipped, and we became separate from all aspects of our former divineness. And being in that first paradigm and having the perception of reality from that low level of consciousness, we perceived all of these holy parts of our being to be outside of us and separate from us, which is a total illusion. They're actually all a part of what we actually are. And when we're all the way to the top of the ladder, we're wholly all the same. We're all the same. There is no hierarchy. Hierarchy is a characteristics of the model of one, and they demand to be fed, and they will consume a percentage of your effort. It's kind of like taxes. Well, everything in man's world is of the model of one. The human condition is a imprint of the God of one, and that's the truth about that. Any questions so far? I'll just ramble nonstop if you don't ask me something. Okay. Well, we started on the paradigm shifting in 2004 with the fourth paradigm coming into the Earth grid, and then it was a certain amount of time, the fifth one, the sixth one. I think we had 2 years when we had 3 paradigm shifts. We thought that was like awesome. Well, it was awesome then. And so it took all the way from the dawn of time until last Christmas of 2011 to get this first number sequence, which was 1 through 15. It's called the linear timeline because the paradigms are in a linear fashion, 1, 2, 3, all the way through 15. It took that long to get the first number sequence totally integrated into the master grid of the Earth. And now, 5 months, so many days later, the remaining 9 number sequences are all in the master grid of the Earth. It's phenomenal. And to top that, this last one that came in 2 Sundays back, the 999th to the power of 7, is 4 times bigger than all of the paradigm shifts combined. That is just mind-blowing. And this is giving us the power to totally power up our holy being. You know, this linear timeline that we had been on until last Christmas is actually the walls of a prison. What it did to us was it made 90% of our higher conscious functioning go dormant. And but with this, these other 9 number sequences in the Earth grid, we are powered up now. You know, it's just amazing what this is going to do to free our being, to let us know the truth, and to be what we are, a holy being that functions from the knowing of our inner holiness. That's what we're designed to be. Any questions about any of that? Crystal clear. Well, just jump right in there.
So what is the 999 to the power of 7 paradigm in regards to the Holy Old thing?
What is that?
Yeah, what is that?
Well, it's actually an androgyne being. Well, what is an androgyne? Well, an androgyne, you see, in the human condition, we have inequalities of our feminine and masculine. And it doesn't matter what gender you're in this life, every person has feminine and masculine within them. One is your soul and the other one is your spirit. And, feminine is spirit, masculine is soul. And as we continue up the road of ascension into the Holy Old, which started at the 13th paradigm, our feminine and masculine continue to refine and get rid of their matriarchal, patriarchal differences until they become holy and divine. And when that happens, they share the common O, and this third circuitry of our androgyne is synthesized. And this androgyne is the origin of our holy old sexuality. Well, what the heck is sexuality in this stuff? Well, holy old sexuality is actually a fountain of eternal life that springs forth from within us, and this is the fuel or the power supply to 276 activities of our holy old higher functioning, like telepathy, teleportation, all of these activities that are going to disconnect us from being dependent on outer world things to supply our needs. That's where it's headed to. And so it's really an amazing thing, and it's all in harmony here with this Mayan cycle of, we're right down here to the end of this Piscean age. We're ready to go into the Aquarian age, which starts on the winter solstice. And we've all been hearing about the age of Aquarius our whole life, and it hadn't even got here yet, so it's going to be amazing. But it's in this model of the Aquarian age that the true model we was in before the downfall will return to this earth. We've been in a patriarchal system, which I'm sure all you women are very well aware of that. And what we're headed into here is the Holy Omega model. The Holy Omega model is the divine feminine. It is not a matriarchal. The Holy Omega model triangle is symbolized with the Holy Androgyne, the Holy Masculine, and the Holy Feminine sharing the common O. And so they're all three holy and divine. And this is the characteristic of the model of O. It always has trinities of O-ness, soul, spirit, and presence, Oa, Oda, Alpha, Omega. It's always about three things sharing a common O. That's the cardinal sign of the Holy Omega model, and there is no hierarchy. That's not what it's about. Now, that all make good sense? Just clear as a bell.
So does that mean that hierarchy, if we know it, is disappearing?
That's exactly right.
It's not going to be around very long. Huh? It goes into the one.
The O. Yeah.
So that means it's no more control.
That's where we're headed to. Yeah, and people are responsible. I mean, you just don't need that anymore. When people live their life in integrity, honor, and high regard of one another because they can feel how they make each other feel, that's what brings people around. If people think they can hide and separate themselves from others and calculate the long end of the stick, they're not going to be in that reality. And also find out that the reason that people have had a big problem seeing into 2013, the people that I've talked to that are good seers, and the ones that my wife reads about on the internet, it's like there was a big curtain drawn across 2013, and nobody could perceive into that. And so I got up into Indianapolis, and I find out that there is this issues in our ability to perceive holiness, and it has to do with there being dummy blocks is what I call them, in the linkage of our perception that skew our perception and cause the holy order of life to go right over our head. We don't pursue it. And the biggest one of these dummy blocks that I've found yet has to do with, well, lineage patterns is a part of it, but the other part of it is, you know, people have this perception, and I think it comes from the Bible, because just a couple of books of Genesis, you've gone through the creation story, Adam and Eve, and the downfall, and the rest of the Bible is about the downfall. That gives people a perception that life started at the dawn of time, the downfall. Well, that is not true. We were actually holy beings 5 times longer before the downfall than from the downfall till today. And if you have no awareness of that, it skews your perception of holiness. It just, you don't perceive it. It goes right over your head. And while in Indianapolis, 3 equations came forth to heal this perception problem. And we did it in a group healing for all humanity, and it won't be long till everybody will have this. Everybody on the sacred path. You know, and that's anybody that has an open heart and seeks holiness can do this. No matter what, it doesn't matter how you do your sacred gift or whatever. If you have an open heart and you seek holiness, you're getting all this stuff. And so it's really amazing. You know, I have people, I had a lady last time I was here, she's recently moved to San Antonio from France. I'd never seen her before. And she had all this stuff that's come in since Christmas. You know, the brown and black ray, she was off of the linear timeline onto the exponential orbit. And she had these exponential paradigm crystals in her fractal code already. So I know that a lot of people are connecting with all this stuff, and they're doing their sacred gift. It all adds into what we all do. And as a result of all of that, this 10,000-pound boulder is rolling, and rolling rapidly. So it's an amazing time we live. And we're right here on the verge of a new 26,000-year cycle with the Aquarian Age. It is the time for the Holy Omega model to return to this earth. And people are just changing incredibly fast. And I also find out there's 15 paths to ascension. There's really what I would call the favorable paths for the open-hearted that seek holiness, and then there's the not-so-favorable paths for people that have their heels dug in, insisting that life be the way their belief dictates. And the least desirable one of all is to live the prophecy of your belief. And that's the longest, that's a very long ascension path. They all lead to the same place, ascension. But we're like popcorn. We don't all pop at the same time. And the people that just don't get it, there's a path for them. I don't want to go to that party. You know, I don't want to live the prophecy of belief. I think that would be a bad experience. You know, it'd be a rough one, for sure. All right. Anyone got any questions about any of that stuff?
Hey, Dan, would you explain the dummy block the way you explained it earlier today when somebody asked you what that was?
Yeah, the dummy block. Yeah. Well, the dummy block is having it's having false perceptions of life, like we started at the dawn of time. Well, you know, a lot of people have the dummy block that they've only had one life, and it's this one, you know, and they believe that, which doesn't impress me, because it comes from the least conscious part of them. That's what belief is about. But, you know, that's their business, how they think of that. But these are the dummy blocks. If you have these concepts that aren't validated by the inscriptions in your crystal lattice or other means of information retrieval, then you're going to have some problems. You know, if you're not open to the truth, it's going to skew your perception. That's a dummy block.
That gap that you spoke of earlier today about, like, when you go to the grocery store and the bin looks like it's
Yeah, we've all seen these big barrels in the grocery store that look like they're full of whatever products they got in it, when really it's only a foot deep. The outside of it's 5 foot tall, but that's all been dummied up. You know, there's really just a little bit at the top that hold the product. And so it gives us false perception. And that's what happens if you harbor false beliefs about this kind of a subject. It will totally skew. This is the reason that the Indians couldn't see the ships coming. It wasn't a part of their process, you see. So it causes things to be invisible that are right in front of your face. So that's the dummy blocks in the perception linkage that skews people's perception of what 2013 is going to be about. So that's my explanation of it. Yes,
Major dummy blocks would be something like a fear-based.
Oh, yeah, definitely fear.
Or genuine belief in like evil as a force.
Yeah, well, those are beliefs, and yeah. And it really is, because fear. If you're in fear, you're in the first or second paradigm. That's the only place that exists. And if you're at that level of consciousness, your perception of reality is going to be in a little box. You're not going to have a full view of reality. And so, yeah, that's a big problem. But, when you consider that we were born on this earth in this life in the third paradigm, and from the downfall to about Abraham, that was the first paradigm, and then from about Abraham to Jesus was the second, and then from Jesus to 2004 was the third. But they all exist simultaneously. And so it took till this last Christmas, and you see for this next year, the year of 2012, all the way to December the 8th of this year, these 15 paradigms of the linear timeline, the first number sequence, will all 15 exist on this earth. I mean, we got everything from death, killing, and war in the first paradigm to cosmic consciousness in the 15th. Okay.
My perception, I'm not sure it's correct. I'm asking, have they moved now from the linear timeline to
this other one?
all now?
Yeah. Well, you see, the linear timeline is going to be on this earth until December the 8th, and at that time, the first 14 paradigms are going to collapse into the 15th. The 15th paradigm is the only paradigm of the first number sequence that will survive into the Aquarian age, and it's only been here since Christmas. This gives you an indication of how different this world's going to be. And then 4 days after the 15th paradigm came in, back in the 29th of January, the 69th paradigm came in. That's the second number sequence. January 1st, the 177th paradigm came in. That's the third. And so when the linear timeline collapses in December of this year, there will no longer be linear time on this earth. It will go 15, 69, 177, 999, 8 to the power of 5 to the power of 7, 9 to the power of 7, 15 to the power of 7, 69 to the power of 7, 177 to the power of 7, and then the last one's 999 to the power of 7. And this will make an exponential orbit. The 999th to the power of 7 and the 15th will join through a button loop, and the old change point will slide anywhere that these 10 exponential paradigms, they exist in a form of a crystal. And these crystals go into your fractal code. And just like putting a superconductor computer chip in a computer that gives it vast functions and properties, that's exactly what these chips do, these crystals of these paradigms in your fractal code. And it's just an amazing thing. It's amazing plan of grand design that's been put forth onto this earth to allow this ascension process to continue. And you see, the story in the crystal lattice says that the great downfall that occurred on this earth happened on the 999th paradigm, and this is the highest paradigm of the soul. Its holy function is to synthesize the knowing of inner holiness from the holy temples of the four constellations that are the four star shafts in the Giza Pyramid: Sirius, Orion, Alpha Draconum, and Ursa Minor. And these four star shafts, three of them were corrupted by this alien invader, is what the crystal lattice calls it. And they were corrupted only 6%, but it was enough to create a tipping point that the knowing of inner holiness became belief of the ego. And that's what 666 is. The Antichrist is the belief of the ego. And the reason why is because it doesn't yield to holiness. It actually tries to make up all the rules about what holiness has to be, or it's not going to accept it. And that's got to be the most ding-dong thing a person could ever do. But it passes for good sense in the first and second and third paradigm when you're dumber than a doorknob, you know. But when you start growing in consciousness, that just doesn't work anymore. It's kind of like Santa Claus. You kind of, you figure that out eventually. So the Santa Claus syndrome catches up with you as you start ascending, and all of a sudden, and I'm not knocking religion, because, there's only one thing that I'm aware of that can pull a person out of the first or second paradigm, and that's third-dimensional religion. I know of nothing else that can do that. So it has a valid function if you want to look at it like that. And then the light workers start at the fourth paradigm, getting people to take one step at a time up the ascension ladder, the paradigm ladder. And so every one of them is very vital, very necessary, and very beautiful. So looking at it in the right context, everything has got a valid purpose. This model of one, it exists from the first paradigm of death, killing, and war through the 12th paradigm of the I am activity. The I am activity is the gateway to heaven. Heaven is the 13th paradigm. That's where the holy old model starts, and that's exactly where we were before the downfall. This was a 13th dimensional earth before the downfall, and 13 is heaven on earth. And so it's interesting that this model of one is actually bipolar, well, so is the God of one. I mean, they give you the 10 Commandments one day and have you killing Canaanites the next. And to me, that's kind of bipolar. So that's just the way it is, and the human condition of functioning from the belief of the ego is the stamp of the God of one. And, knowing was outlawed right off the bat as the downfall of Adam and Eve, eaten from the tree of knowledge. And the word belief is in the Old Testament hundreds of times. Almost every scripture it's in there. And so this belief thing is a process of one. And where did this one come from? Well, it was actually broken off from the holy old universes into one and two, one being patriarchal, two being matriarchal. And they were actually universes. They were patriarchal and matriarchal universes that were actually fragmentations off of the original holy old universes. And these collections of universes exist in the form of star grids that are annular rings around the ball, and the ball is the reality of life on this earth. The sixth star grid is what we just came out of. We now have a seventh, but the sixth star grid is when you had holy old universes, models of one, and models of two, and it created this world of the human condition. See? Well, that's all actually been healed. The macrocosmic expression is always the easy thing to fix. The hard thing to fix is the microcosmic people. That's a very difficult challenge. But what actually happened was the matriarchal and patriarchal universes are mirror images of one another. It's just like you took a board and break it over your knee. You got two jagged ends, but they fit together perfect because they're mirror images. They were recombined, and then they were merged back into oneness with the holy old universes. And so now we have the outermost ring as the seventh star grid, and it will produce the holy omega model inside of that ball in the Aquarian age, which is coming up here in this next cycle. Any questions about any of that?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Where in this world taught to think literally, and we're also taught that we flip back and forth between being a victim or a rescuer or a perpetrator. In the model without linear, none of those are there. So what is that going to look like in our education? Do you have any idea?
Well, the educational system that we have worked a lot better in the third paradigm. When people were in the third paradigm, it worked a lot better. It's falling apart now, and it's because it doesn't fit the consciousness of people. It's got to be redone like everything does. And you see the price you pay to ascend is that your old world downfall has to be purged out of you. And that's about as much fun as throwing up. It's not fun, because what's going to happen is your fears and beliefs, they have to come up to come out. And when they come up, they're symptomatic in your life. And if you take the wrong fork in the road and try to figure it out through self, you're going to take a butt kicking, and you're probably going to get into fear. And if it's bad enough, you'll be one of these people buying up all the beanie weenies and shotguns. And I guess you want to fight with your kids over the last can of beanie weenies. I don't know how that system actually plays out. But that's not the way to go. And there's a lot of people doing that. The way to go is to do the Christed thing. You surrender your issues to your inner holiness. You don't go there in the head trying to figure it out in 10% consciousness. That's not going to work. You have to be willing to first accept your problem. If you got a problem, go on ahead and accept it. You play a part in it or it wouldn't be your problem. Then you forgive yourself for the pain it's created in your life. Then you surrender the whole 9 yards to your inner holiness as you yield to its will in your life. And just like that, you're off the hook. The next thing is to show up and take your step in trusting your holiness without having to understand what's around the corner. And you ask for guidance. And you just put yourself in the posture for your inner holiness to show and tell you. You see, when you're coming from the head, you're telling holiness what it's got to be to fit your belief. And that's a real boneheaded move, that's going to really make things hard. Doesn't have to be like that. You could do this Christed process, get off the hook, and it gets resolved in the most amazing ways. Your cup always overflows with goodness when you allow your holiness to show and tell and to lead. It's that simple. And everybody's got one. If your heart beats, it's in there. So there are no excuses. We just have to learn to do that. It's like riding a bicycle. There's a little learning curve to it, but once you learn, it's forever. You're not going to forget. So it's very well worth the effort. And to do it, I tell people to start off with a 20-second conscious intention for your day. Lord of my being, today I accept all issues in my life as my own. I now forgive myself for all the pain and misery it's created. I now surrender all of it to you as I yield to your will in my life. I take my next step in trusting you, and I don't have to understand a darn thing about what's around the corner. Lead my way. And now you're off and running. And you do that for a couple of weeks, and you get the feel of it. You may say, I need to tweak number 3 a little bit to suit me better. That's fine. You do whatever you need to do. And then you take it to the next level, which is into the combat zone of your daily life. When things happen, that's what you do. And you start learning, you see, in the human condition, we're so reactive to life. We spend all of our time reacting. reliving the past. Sorry's in the past, worry's in the future. It's not ever either one of them. It's always now. Those are both illusions. And that's what comes with the dawn of time. So if you think you were created at the dawn of time, you're going to be you're going to suffer from the future and past. It's going to be an integrated part of that. But if you're a being of the dawn of creation, you don't have any of these issues. And the dawn of creation is a perfect pulse, holio same, and it is the same pulse that beats the first cell of our being. And as those cells start multiplying, as long as they beat in synchrony, the intelligence of life that beats your heart is in total awareness, absolute control, and everything is going to work out pretty darn good. And then you're born into this world. We're created for a wholesome, nurturing environment, and we live in a very toxic, hostile world. So over time, the insult of the stress and trauma will start fragmenting your pulse. Your inner intelligence, whose purpose now is to control, coordinate, function, and heal your body, it'll start losing awareness, and it can't do its job if it doesn't understand correctly. So having your pulse synchronized is a good thing. And this energy field that's around the first cell that the cell grows into, its vulnerability is the emotional events that occur in your life. When negative feelings are generated from within you, they actually get trapped in your Holy Spirit, and they tend to congregate in certain locations for each individual person. And once that negativity reaches a certain critical mass, you're going to start having problems. It could be physical, emotional, mental, or spirit, all of them, any combination of them. And so it's a real good idea to have a method to resynchronize your pulse and to clean the garbage out of your Holy Spirit. It does wonders. And that's why we're always putting positive feelings into people. If you only knew what that consumed, it would freak you out. And I'm glad I don't have to deal with that anymore. I used to have to pull out negative ones, and it's not much fun. At the end of the day, man, you feel like you got crud all over you. So I'm so glad it sweetened up and got into positive feelings. Any comments or?
Let's see the people on the phone.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just going to unplug this. Okay, so those of you on the phone, if you have questions, you can press *6, and we'll be able to hear you because you're on speakerphone. Going on?
Tanya?
Yes.
Hi, it's Diane in Indianapolis with Matthew, and Matthew has a question that I can't answer, but Dr. Dan probably can.
All right.
And it was basically when Dan was talking about beliefs of the ego versus trusting your inner knowing, how do we know that that's just not another belief system itself?
That's a real common question when people get started on this. You have to have your experience with it, and the difference becomes pretty obvious. And I'll tell you one good way of telling. If it's your ego, it's going to have negative feelings. It's going to be fear. Fear is the tool of the ego, and all negative feelings come from it. If it's of your inner holiness, it's going to have hope and positive feeling with it. So that's my answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was beautiful.
Hey, you're welcome.
Anyone else on the phone?
Yes, this is Rita Bernadette from Kerrville. And my question is, how do we keep the negative feelings from entering through our ego? Is it because of the way we react to life?
Yeah, and it's interesting that the ego reacts. It seldom acts. It reacts, and reaction is your inner holiness acts, your ego reacts, and it reacts with negative feelings. And you can't fake this stuff and it's never about what you say, it's always about what you feel. because feelings are the true communicator. They express all dimensions of reality, and whereas words only do 6 out of 13. So your feeling is, so if you got a negative feeling, you're under the influence of the ego, is what it is. And the best thing I know to do is ask your inner holiness to put love on the part of you that needs it. And if you can come up with that rational of a thought, it's going to quieten your ego down. And if you know if beating up the ego was ever going to be a good thing to do, we'd all be saints by now. It never works. It makes it rebellious and kicking up and making a fuss, see? So you can't beat yourself up. You put love on self, and self becomes obedient to holiness. It defrags it. You know, love is the force through which your inner holiness acts. And there's nothing on this earth or anywhere else that's unlike it that can defend itself against it. It's just like turning the lights on in a dark room. The darkness can't defend itself against the light. It's gone. And that's the way it is. So love consumes fear, but it has to be applied. And you can ask your holiness to do it for you until you get to the point that you feel confident in you doing it. So it's really beautiful.
Thank you, Dan.
You're very welcome.
Anyone else on the phone? Okay, I think we're going to move forward, so...
Thank you on the phone.
Yeah. Can you put them...
Everybody's back to music. We're good.
Okay. We're good.
Okay. So, any last comments or questions any of you might have? Feel safe to ask. All right. In that case, I guess I'm pretty much, I've said pretty much everything I was wanting to say. Did I cover did I cover the top end of it enough? Okay. All right. Well, what we always do is we have a demonstration at the end of this. Everybody here will get the demonstration. But there's, one person in particular that's been sent here this evening to be our demo. We call it our Lucky Door Prize winner. So, Cassandra, come right up and we'll ask Her Holiness who that might be. Yeah. Just leave your shoes on and just lay right up there like the Sandra did. And just to be very pleasant, we're just going to kind of wiggle your feet. Come this way about 2 inches. All right. Awesome. Okay. If you ever want to know what I'm doing down here, if I say give me a yes, her right leg goes short. Give me a no, her left leg goes short. And so the information I usually kind of get telepathically, but I validate it with this muscle check, This blessing, Kathy, that's right, isn't it? Kathy? Okay. This blessing for Kathy is orchestrated by the living holiness that beats your heart. Dan is a servant with a Christed consciousness. Okay, holiness and Kathy, you know what we need to do here. Yes. Okay. All right. Need to rebuild something. Yes. Okay. Paradigm. Oh. Is it a star system dimension? Yes. Star system. 7. Golden ray. Dimension. More than 40. Yes. 57. Yes. Okay, this is going to be a bringing forth into its holy expression, the holy O expression, the 7th star system of the 57th dimension. We all got one. It is the capstone of the pyramid. This is the dimension of direct access to your inner holiness. Okay? And everybody's going to get that. K or C? Your part in this, Kathy, is just close your eyes and go to your happy place and give your holiness permission to speak to your needs. Hey, we're going to be applying the blessing of the 999 to the power 7th paradigm to this 7th star system of this 57th dimension. And this will encompass all 10 crystals of the exponential paradigms, the crystals of Lemuria, Atlantis, and Hyperborea, and the Trinity of Oneness of our sacred gray, brown, and black ray. So this will be a moonshot. It'll be a lot of stuff. All right. This blessing for Kathy and all in our presence this evening to bring forth the perfected Holio expression of the seventh star system of your 57th dimension. Into the neutral zone through a plan of grand design, through a divine decree of O, to bring forth perfected merger into O-ness through perfected O paradigm portal of creation, to merge into O-ness with the now of creation, to merge into O-ness through the great seal of all knowing of O of creation. This great seal of all knowing to be applied to a triangle, which will metamorphose and become a universal Merkaba, and then merge into O-ness and bring forth Kathy and all in attendance as a holy being with a holy O seventh star system of your 57th dimension on holy O earth, through the holy O fractal of your holy O, to purge, clear, heal, nurture, and support forevermore in the first corner of this triangle. Your Platinum Ray Holy O Androgyne, your Holy O 15th and 999 to the power of 7th paradigms into the Holy O Same Tooth Taurus through the Holy O temples of Orion, into the Holy O crystals of Lemuria, through your Holy O Gray Ray to anchor in your pituitary gland. In the third corner of this triangle, your Platinum Ray Holy O Masculine, your Holy O 69th, 177th, 999th paradigms, into the Holy O Same Tooth Taurus through the Holy O temples of Orion, Sirius, Alpha Dracona, and Ursa Minor, into the Holy O crystals of Atlantis, through your Holy O Black Ray,
to anchor in your crystal pyramids. In the third corner of this triangle, your platinum ray holy O feminine, your holy O 8 to the power 5 to the power of 7, 9 to the power of 7, 15 to the power of 7, 69 to the power of 7, 177 to the power of 7, paradigms into the holy O same tube torus, through the holy O temples of Divine Mother, Mother Earth, Venus, Pleiades, and Sirius, into the holy O crystal of Hyperborea, into Mount Meru, into the Aquarian Age, through your holy O brown ray, to anchor in your root chakra. With Kathy and all in attendance in the middle, this great seal of all, knowing to merge into O-ness through the threefold flame of your heart, of your rainbow gold and emerald violet crystal light of creation, to merge into O-ness through Perfectionator, Merkaba, Holy Universe, 7 coordinated groups of O universes of creation, to merge into O-ness through Perfected Trinity Anchor of the paradigm of 7 through 15 of creation, to bring forth the perfected manifestation of Kathy, all in attendance in all of our lineages, as holy beings with the Holy O 7-star system of the 57th dimension on Holy O Earth, through the Holy O fractal of our Holy O, with inner feelings of trust, virtuous, and happiness, all to be brought forth into this reality of this earth, through your lives and more than 800 trillion plus expressions of your lives, in perfected holographic Holy O fractal of your Holy O. Anointed with clear octave sandstone crystallite, light of Divine Mother, light of Goddess, light of Melchizedek, clear octave ruby red crystallite, clear octave violet crystallite, clear octave emerald crystallite, clear turquoise crystallite, clear magenta crystallite, clear yellowquoise crystallite, clear red crystallite, clear blue sky crystallite, clear silver crystallite, clear crystallite, clear white crystallite, clear rainbow crystallite, clear golden crystallite, clear blue crystallite, clear purple crystallite, clear violet crystallite, clear emerald crystallite, clear green crystallite, clear pink crystallite, clear octave orange crystallite, and 101 rays of O-light with feelings of tranquility, composure, and happiness, cherish, passion, and exact, jovial, birth, and honest, agreeable, satisfied, and careful, pleasurable, enjoyment, and steadfast, hopeful, accepting, and faithfulness, creative, imaginative, and compassion, the element of knowing, the illumination of O-light, and the radiance of divine presence of Goddess, to nurture, purify, and elevate this perfected fractal code of your Holy O into its very highest balance, harmony, joy, happiness, peace, love, compassion, structure, function, morphology, physiology, through the authority and the orchestration of the living Goddess that beats your heart. This perfected fractal code of your Holy O goes into the hall of records of your being, attracting all things like it as it establishes its dominion and its perfection in your life expression in this world. O connecting amen and O hallelujah. And it is done. Okay, it'll take about an hour for that to set up and transform, so that'll be just beautiful. Are you doing good? All right. That feel good?